Hello, this is Ben's AI Avatar, and welcome to AI Insights, the Executive Brief. In this series, Ben Bohman himself sits down with executives and industry leaders to discuss the impact of AI in business. And there is a big issue with what I call AI readiness, but the real power of AI is when the data is collaborated across sales, marketing, and every single aspect of the ecosystem. In this episode, Ben sits down with George Sandmann, the founder and CEO of Growth Drive, and the author of The Growth Driving Advisor.
Is your business immortal? Can this business operate effectively and continue to grow sustainably without you? If you're looking to sell this business one day, it needs to be able to exist and in fact be better without you than it is today.
George brings a wealth of knowledge and experience in helping businesses achieve best-in-class results through innovative methodologies and AI-driven technologies. In this episode, they dive into how AI and machine learning are revolutionizing advisor-client engagements and driving growth in privately held businesses.
We are decoding the genome for private businesses.
Right.
AI is a significant part of that technological mission.
You can see the full episode on YouTube at The Executive Brief. Please subscribe there. Also follow on AI Insights LinkedIn page. Thank you. Let's dive in.
Hi, I'm George Sandmann. I'm the founder and CEO of Growth Drive. I'm the author of a book that was put out by Forbes that's aimed at business advisors. And out of that book, the book has a methodology and a process for helping clients get unstuck and achieve best-in-class results. And out of that, we've created software technology, and we leverage artificial intelligence and machine learning to help drive advisor engagements. But at the end of the day, we're really trying to drive the growth of profits and value in privately held businesses.
Yeah, I love that. So the book's called The Growth Driving Advisor.
Correct.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. So The Growth Driving Advisor. Now, question, and you and I, we met because I'm working on a book and I'm going through the process right now. I'm getting close to at least getting a rough draft done. But did you, just a question about your book, did you come up with the title and then write your book wrapped around the title, or did you write the book and then be like, okay, this is a good title for the book? What order did that go in?
That's a great, I wrote the book and then came up with the title. And there was a lot of back and forth between me and the team at Forbes, which is an excellent team, about what the book should be called. And ultimately I put my thumb on the scale and settled on this title.
That one. Yeah, I think you have to listen to the advisors, but you also have to do what's true to you. But I do like the title, the Growth Driving Advisor. I like that title, the Growth Driving Advisor, because I think a lot of times, especially when we're talking about consulting and advising businesses, we get so caught up on the product of what we're talking about or the solution, but really not the overall business impact of the overall impact of the business and the company. So is that kind of walk through what it means to be that and what it means to drive growth with the business and how those conversations are to be had?
Yeah, that's a great question, Benjamin. But take a step back, if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
You fundamentally, when we run businesses, I'm 30 years an entrepreneur, and I've been working for over a decade. I'm in my 13th year working directly with advisors, well over 1,000 advisors on thousands and thousands of cases. And what do we know? We know that CEOs, by and large, left to their own devices, are doing okay, right? But they're doing okay from their perspective. They're taking money home. They've got a house, they've got a vacation place, a boat, a fast car, etc. And life is pretty good. The reality is, and what advisors bring, the power they bring to the table is a perspective that says, I know this is working for you, but would it work? Is your business immortal? Can this business operate effectively and continue to grow sustainably without you? That's a driver of value. If you're looking to sell this business one day, it needs to be able to exist and in fact be better without you than it is today. And so without the advisor coming to the table and asking questions and perhaps challenging current perspectives and realigning those perspectives with the market realities, that CEOs won't move. So that's actually why it's called the Growth Driving Advisor and not the Growth Driving CEO. So that's kind of where we kicked off.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll get into. I'm excited to talk about how AI falls into this, kind of what you're doing, and the conversations we've had around AI. But there seems to be an. I mean, I don't know how the approach of humility or how you would approach a CEO as far as advising at that level, because you're not calling their baby ugly, but you're telling them their baby could use some improvement. And so what is the approach to not to be, hey, I'm here to help you. This isn't making you look bad. I don't know if that question makes sense. It just seems, at certain layers, sometimes there can be egos involved as far as what I'm doing is good enough or status quo. So what's that first step? I don't know if that's addressed or overcoming that.
It is, and we start the book with becoming your client's guide. And to become someone's guide, you have to help them understand where they want to go. And then you have to help them understand the different paths there may be to getting there. And sometimes that those are probably successive projects, right?
Uh-huh.
So we start, I believe firmly in starting out with having the CEO enunciate what they need their business to do for them over the long term. What is the ultimate why that this business needs to deliver? And then have them describe the company and help them understand that maybe it is an ugly baby, but they need to come to that conclusion. We can't, it's anything. I've raised three boys. I don't know if you have kids.
Yeah.
But yeah, right. So if you tell them what to do, this is how much gets done. If they come to you and say, "Hey, Dad, I want to go out on Saturday. I need money. I think I'll mow the lawn." The lawn still gets mowed. So we need to see. We help the CEO come to the conclusion that maybe there are some things they might need to do, and again, that they hold up the baby and say, "Hey." Yeah, I'm picking on children here, but
well, that terminology, but
no, it's a great. We use it all the time.
It's true, and as you talk about, and you're working with CEOs and the layer and the persona that is basically running and organizing the company. Sometimes almost the quarterback of the company in some ways. Yes. But this philosophy and this flow works across the board as far as advising, because I know even I myself talk to a lot of technology leaders, right? So the CTO, CIO, CISO, and it's still the same idea. You can't approach it. And it's even almost more profound with technology people, because again, they want to go in and just talk about what their solution, their product does. You can't do that. What you're talking about is a sound approach, and it's the way business needs to be approached. And the reason why is because that's how they approach their job. That's how most of them approach it, is they're looking at the bigger picture of the business. And I always, people, processes, and technology. That's how a CTO, a CIO, and even executive leadership is looking at it. They're looking at the people and the processes of their business, and how it might be EBITDA that they're looking at. It might be KPIs, whatever it is. But approaching it from a business standpoint first, and where it hits home to them. I just that because it works across the ecosystem.
Well, it's interesting. If I can pick up on something you just said, if we think about a chief technology officer, right, or chief financial officer, but let's stay with chief technology officer. A chief technology officer is very different than, this is not the person, your IT profession who is maintaining the status quo and ensuring that your systems are working correctly. That's great, and that's required. When you put C in front of someone's name, it implies a strategic perspective, and that the CTO is going to going to help plan and deploy technologies that move the business forward, that help the business achieve its strategic intent. And that is an incredibly important goal to have, and one where, bringing it full circle, a judicious, well understood deployment of technologies, including AI and machine learning, is necessary to help businesses not simply stay relevant, but to beat the competition. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that, and it kind of reminds me of coaches in professional sports. And you see that some athletes, the technicians, the ones who are doing it every day, some of them can be great coaches, but some of them actually struggle in that coaching role and into that, like you said, that strategic, visionary, and leadership role. I was just thinking about that analogy because it's an interesting one, because sometimes you definitely need someone in these roles that have either the business acumen, the financial acumen, or the technology acumen to be able to understand it. But there's also a very different mindset between a strategist and someone who's going in there and doing and tinkering. Now, sometimes there is that special person that can do both, but that's not always the case. So now let's jump into a little bit of the AI conversation here. How, with the CEOs you're talking to, the businesses you're talking to, are you seeing, and overall the people, I mean, you have a far reach within Forbes and everywhere else. Are you seeing still fear? Is it a mixture? Do you see a shift starting to happen with the embracement of artificial intelligence? What are you seeing right now?
What I don't have, I'm a data guy, right? I'm a quant. I don't have data on this. However, just drawing from conversations, I would say that there is befuddlement out there. It's AI. Every time I turn around, I hear about artificial intelligence, and I think we should be using it. I'm told that if we don't adopt it, we may get left behind. But I don't even really know what artificial intelligence and machine learning can do for me. I don't know the difference between a language model and an analytical numeric, database model. What should I be doing? And you and I were talking before we hit the record button. And I think the comment you made is a good one. CEOs are coming to the realization that this is something they need to understand and deploy. And they don't even know what questions to ask. And that's fair. This is brand new. When I was writing the book, finishing the book about a year ago, it was just Chat 3.0, I think. Right. They had just come up with their premium model. And in the book, I'm saying, hey, this is hot right now. And I didn't play with it. I used it to write a brief section of the book. But and this is where a CEO would do themselves a huge service by sitting down with a competent fractional CTO and having a conversation. Here's where the business needs to go. What do you see? Right.
So is that, you talked about the fractional or sitting down and basically creating an advisory board around that. But when you're talking to a CEO about AI, and there might be, like you said, trepidation and a little bit of fear and maybe just confusion. My favorite slide that I have in my presentation deck is a slide that shows 30 to 50 AI companies in different categories. And it just shows how messy AI is right now. But what's that advice for approach right now? Is it slow and steady? Is it start to understand and learning? What is this approach that you're talking about for them?
Well, I think, there's no magic bullet, right? There are very powerful engines out there, platforms, technologies. They're very powerful, but there's no magic bullet, because we'll get back to where we start, just advising a CEO or a business owner. If you don't understand where you want the technology to take you, so your vision as a CEO, your vision and mission do not need to change because of new technologies.
Right.
Your vision and mission remain the same. Now, technology can become some or a significant part of your strategies to achieve your vision and mission. And that is the question you should be asking. Okay, guys, we want to do, we are going X. And let's use a simple one. We're gonna create a business that is worth $100 million. Now, to get there, we need to innovate. We need to deliver faster. Here are the things we're going to need to do. Is technology a potential part of the answer? Yeah. And then if it is, what's appropriate and how would we deploy it? And but that why I don't think change. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And that question is, I love that. Is it a relevant part of the answer? And I still remember the CFO, when I was an IT director, I took over a T department when I was 21 years old, and the CFO brought me in and he gave me this book, and it was and basically the chapter he pointed to was called Computers at the time, right? It was Computers 2001. And it was about how they were just basically this money suck for the business. And he was talking about, don't let our technology just suck money out of the business. Don't implement technology just for the sake of implementing technology. And his point was not almost, it was to have a profit mindset within technology. And I think
Sure.
as we're talking about implementation into artificial intelligence or any kind of technology, does it get you closer to your goals? I love that point that you made. And a lot of times I talk with businesses, I say, are you getting an ROI? Don't implement art because you're getting something from the board or someone says the cloud. Are we on the cloud yet? It doesn't matter if we're on the cloud yet. How is that making us money? How is that saving us money? Does that make sense?
That makes huge sense. And you just hit on fundamentals, right? Focus is a fundamental superpower of a business. And if the board calls you as the CEO, and I won't get into, we can get into that if you'd like. But if someone on the board calls you, and let's say that that's a board of directors, and the person calling the CEO has a swagger stick. If they call you and they just start getting excited about technology and AI in a vacuum, you need to have the discipline and the focus to channel that conversation. I would suggest, right, to channel that conversation and to say, okay, what are you, Madam Director, hoping that technology will do? Do you have something specific?
Yeah.
Because our focus, we have a plan, we are executing on a plan. If we can accelerate our delivery against that plan, I'm thinking about a business that if technology can help us accelerate achieving our milestones, our horizons in the plan, great. If not, it is a distraction. And focus is the superpower. And if technology can accelerate focus and attainment, great. And if technology is a distraction, we're doing it for its own sake, then I would say get the abacus out and do it the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, it's a great point. This is one of the few times in technology, and I think the cloud was another one where it was almost this drive to implement technology just for the sake of implementing technology, where most of the time, 99% of the time, technology is only asked for if there's a business use case for it. And so the technology doesn't come first. In most cases, it's we need to solve this problem, go out and figure out how you solve this problem.
Yeah, the business use case exists.
Yeah, and then you go out and solve the problem.
Yeah.
But this is the first time where I'm actually talking in a long time, a little bit in the cloud. The cloud was very similar to that, where no one knew what it was. There was just this big buzz around it. But where I'm talking to C-suites and executives who are telling me that they're getting board initiatives, but they don't even have funding. They're just saying they're getting the board asking, what's your AI initiative? Well, the board doesn't know what that means, but the CIOs, CTOs are still getting asked what that is. It's a really weird time for this, right?
Sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. And in part, it's because every time we turn around, we're getting clobbered over the head with it. And I would say that when we see stories out there, so let's just take your typical growth company. Well, where do we turn to get stories about growth companies? We have Fast Company, we have Inc. magazine, we have, et cetera. And we read about those businesses. You're talking about the unicorns, right? We're reading stories about either the unicorns. If you also go back and look at how many of those businesses fail, the failure rate is immense. So we're getting them held up to us as examples of shiny examples of the people we should emulate. Yeah. And yet they fail as a lot of companies, as most companies do, but they fail at the same rate. Yeah. So technology that is analogous to technology. Just because some company out there is crushing it doesn't mean we should stop everything we're doing and try to run off in that direction.
Absolutely. And I think it's interesting. Another interesting point with that, as far as one company's success doesn't mean your success, especially in artificial intelligence. What I'm seeing is also different in the industry of artificial intelligence is every vertical, but even within that, every company is kind of its own special use case on how it can utilize and how ready it is for artificial intelligence deployment, where in a lot of cases, you can take a cybersecurity solution that might be endpoint detection or SOC as a service, and you can fit it across companies and across verticals, and it just cookie cutters into a business. But
Yes.
artificial intelligence isn't like that. And there is a big issue with what I call AI readiness. And I think you and I talked about this, I think when I was on your show, and that's about the data and having data that is clean and organized. And right now, if a lot of companies implement AI, they're going to implement a disparate AI system that's going to have just some unique use case into the business. But the real power of AI is when the data is collaborated across sales, marketing, and every single aspect of the ecosystem. And AI is making conscious, again, not decisions, but recommendations from all of the data that's available and external data that's available. That would be the ideal use case, right?
I totally agree. I totally agree. And harnessing data is just bits and boops, right? But when we can harness it, it's the analytics from the data that are the real power. And AI, in one of the many things, but one of the things that AI is really good at is the if X then Y.
Yeah.
And so it can find trends quickly, and then posit, say, hey, if we continue these trends, this may occur. This is likely to occur. And that is incredibly powerful. We are we are decoding the genome for private businesses.
Right.
AI is a significant part of that technological mission that's our technological vision. Our corporate vision is bigger than that. But AI is enabling analyses that were previously not impossible, but so time consuming as to not have an ROI.
Yeah, the compute power it used to take to do some of this. And even then it was very reactive. And so I've been in technology environments and been a sales engineer, also worked as account executives and on director of sales teams. And the number one thing I always hated in sales was the reactive approach to numbers. So we didn't hit our numbers this month. Here's why. So let's change. Well, Q2 is a totally different environment than what Q1 is. Yeah. And so this reactive and this reaction to old data and reactive analytics, which they're still used for reactive analytics,
sure,
is just getting away from that is so exciting to me, because now when we get to what you're saying, proactive and predictive analytics, and you mentioned another key point, which is using external data factors to make internal decisions. So now we're not just using internal data, we're also using external, maybe weather, maybe events, maybe whatever's happening in the world, because there's so much external data that's available to us. Now we're really getting into an exciting time of data analytics. Wouldn't you agree?
I completely agree. Agree. And the rise, we talk about cloud computing, cloud storage, and that was a revolution, and it was very quiet. But remember the days when you had to put things on a disk or a thumb drive to switch them between machines? Not very long ago. Now it all happens magically in the cloud. The other dark horse here is APIs, right? And the API connections between communities of data.
Yep.
And that is incredibly exciting. So an API, ladies and gentlemen, think of it as a portal between, when your bank account talks to your QuickBooks account, it is using an API. Cool. Imagine if you have single APIs and even stacked APIs, so that, company X is seeing into QuickBooks is seeing into the checking account, and the inferences that we can get from it, and how AI, a well-designed prompts, engineered, and prompt engineering is a thing, right? It's a very important thing. Well-engineered prompts can help us make predictions, and predictive analytics are killer, and also create strategy going forward. It's as you can tell, I'm quite excited about what's going on.
I'm excited too. And some of us can still remember when we were using floppy drives.
Oh yeah.
Access 1.2 or 1.4, 1.4.
Or having to wait and having to have a time slot for using the IBM rotary golf ball typewriter. That was the earliest part of my career. Yeah.
Gosh. And this technology is going, and we talk about I mean, that was 20 years ago, maybe plus. I like to think it was only 20.
I'd like to think it's only 20 but it's not.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, we think about how much technology has changed over 20 years. And I think when I talked about the BlackBerry and writing the story of the BlackBerry and cell phone. But I mean, what do you imagine? Can you even imagine where we're going to be in 5, 10 years? Is there a thought? More autonomy, hopefully more the human AI touch, which I think is important, but where do you think we're going?
First of all, I love your perspective. That was our very first conversation, Benjamin, and your concept of the humanity and the human factor with AI. And the fact you and I have discussed this, and this is a topic for another complete conversation, but AI does not have consciousness, right? And that is very important, and I won't digress here. Now, where's it going? Where are we going to be in 5 years? Where are we going to be in 5 months, right? Where are we going to be at this time next year? And the ease with which these models, the ease that these models are providing to users so that, as they learn, our prompts can become a little looser, and what they've learned out there, their store of knowledge is getting bigger and bigger. So, I don't know, Benjamin. Are there going to be prompts that engineer prompts? There already are. Are they going to get really good at it? I don't. Yes, but ultimately, I think we still have the human factor. I think humans will always be. This is a human world. Could AI wreak a lot of havoc? You bet it could. But computers don't need AI to wreak havoc right now. Let's look at frankly, let's look at the hacking efforts of global miscreants. And so in 5 years, where do I'm not a predictor. I do think that we are going to have very, very rapid access. Let me try a theory on you as we're thinking about this.
Sure.
I think we're going to get a whole lot of noise where the noise is ramping up, right? And it's going to be chaotic, incredibly chaotic. And we see this in markets again and again and again. And we were going to have a lot of chaos in the market caused by these new technologies. And then it's going to smooth out because it's in the market's interest to reach a high functioning level. And I think that's where we'll get relatively quickly, where there's less noise and more, I will use this to do X, Y, and Z to generate these results.
Yeah, you can almost call it like the dust settling, right? Almost the dust is going to settle, and I think you and I have talked about not quite the .com fallout, right? Remember the .com, and it was just brutal. Every company, they didn't know what they were doing. There's more relevance than there with AI than there's .com, but I do see something similar that it might be a year, it might be 2 years from now, but the major players who are successfully, ethically, and I guess successfully, that's a big word right there, successfully and ethically implementing AI, and it's working and it's helping the businesses. Those are going to stay there. Then there's going to be the bigger ones that are going to buy up all the smaller ones.
I was going to say there's going to be consolidation.
A consolidation. Yeah, we'll definitely see a consolidation. But I think the most important thing, though, and going back to the human touch and the idea of humanity, is technology throughout time has always been predicted to make humans lazy, dumber, and inefficient. So even the automobile, right? The automobile, make us lazy. The horse is going to be better. We're going to be dumb. The cell phone, the television, so much technology, and the cell phone comes to mind, right? Social media, which good and bad. Then we get into the duality of humanity, duality of technology, right? But at the end of the day, humans took automobiles and they became more efficient. Then they took airplanes and they became more efficient. And you never fly. I'm in Las Vegas. I never fly to Florida and have someone be like, "Why didn't you walk? What are you, lazy?" It's not the way it is. But this is where I think AI is going. First, there has to be the fear, which everyone is scared of it. Then there has to be, okay, let's play with it and see, maybe I do like it, maybe I don't. And then there's going to be the adoption and this is where I believe people need to be thinking right now is, how do I use AI to be better, to be more efficient, and to enhance my job? Because those are the people that are going to work better, right?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting also. Yes, I agree. And what's interesting is let's talk about the BlackBerry. I forget what my first BlackBerry cost. It cost an arm and a leg. I went from a flip phone to a BlackBerry years ago. And that BlackBerry was expensive. It was a big decision. And then I went from a BlackBerry to to a Droid. And that was another big purchase. These are $1,000 little machines, and the iPhone, et cetera. Still, what am I holding? $1,500 in my back pocket here?
Easily.
AI, you have power this big.
Yep.
And if I spend less than $100 a month on and have an incredible amount of power for pennies. And True. I think that is the same with fiber, right? When fiber first came, people don't know. It's like the wheel, guys. Fiber changed. Fiber is why we are where we are today. Now we're making this technology instantly available everywhere over fiber for free, or for virtually pennies, less than $1 a day.
Yep.
And that's incredible, and it's incredibly smart, because it is going to the accelerate the development. You have smart women and men all over the planet accessing Chat and Claude and Gemini and Perplexity, my current favorite, and it's not the same as Chat, but anyway, my favorite search tool. Yeah, it's fascinating. So it's a much more democratized unveiling of technology than we've ever seen.
Yep. I love that point of fiber, because sometimes we think of cool technology, let's say voice over IP, which was a great technology even when it first came out, but the infrastructure couldn't support internet calling. And then you think about everything we do and how many devices, all the IoT and all the devices we connect, even in our home. And then you think about a business. Then you go into a healthcare system, right? A hospital, and all this stuff is not possible without the infrastructure of fiber. Now, of course, we have Starlink, and I think Amazon's coming out with their own, which will be high speed with some LOAs and some agreements to speed and security and reliability. So it might match fiber, but if we don't have that infrastructure, then we're not doing what you and I are even doing right now, having a conversation with video without it breaking up and crackling and doing all that. And there still probably has to be some more innovation that's going to come out for mass use of AI, especially when you look at the amount of data lakes. And right now, AI can still process data, but when you're trying to get an immediate response to, when you're processing a whole company's ecosystem, maybe it's compute. Obviously there's still some more technology that needs to come out to support this.
Well, we haven't even mentioned quantum computing, right?
Yeah.
So you get fiber, quantum computing, and AI, and what incredible things are we going to be able to, incredible results. And now we're getting away from speed, right? We're getting to quality. Mm-hmm. So we're getting, I just read two fascinating articles. One was about there's a quantum jump in transmission speed over existing networks. You guys can check that and get Perplexity, look it up. Yeah. And the other has nothing to do with this, but is with solid state batteries, and the 100 times the power in a tiny battery, a hearing aid battery, the battery in our watches. So what AI fits in here somehow. AI is almost it can become the fluid that is suspending all of these endeavors, and it's a fascinating and an exciting time. Yeah. The businesses that do figure out how to use tech, and if you're the CEO listening, figure out what technologies, don't be mesmerized by AI. Mm-hmm. What technologies will help you more quickly successfully achieve your mission. And you can only achieve it as quickly as you can do it right. And those technologies, let's pick one that's been around, HubSpot. Yeah. Right? HubSpot is pouring a lot of money into getting AI throughout this sales and marketing platform. Sure. And some of it is good, some of it is meh. Is kind of, this is here because somebody thought it should be, not because it's doing me any favors. But it's those tried and true technologies from Alphabet, from HubSpot, et cetera, from Intuit that are going to help you, and it's a cool time. One thing I would say, I'd love your feedback on this.
Yeah.
Should people, is this a time to step there's a line, right?
Yeah.
So do you stay inside the, hey, there are other people using this and it's working and I should not follow them, but I emulate them?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it a time to step out? And those are the articles we'll read about, people who come up with some crazy new way to do it. But what is the highest ROI approach for a business leader trying to adopt technologies, including AI? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's such a good question. And as you look at it, and again, that goes into the conversation about it's different just across the board and how you look at it. In some ways, you can emulate if you have a company that's running a close to and a relationship with the company and you know what they're doing and they're running close to the same procedures and patterns and the way you operate, then yeah, you can emulate that. I would say right now is and it's kind of weird to say, a time to lean in and step back at the same time.
That's what I was getting at.
Almost like a basketball player leaning into the person, then stepping back and taking the jumper, or evaluating getting a better view, right? I think you need to lean in because you need to understand AI and what it is relevantly doing. And that's who I'd be positioning yourself with and be surrounding yourself around as people who understand what the true capabilities are of AI. And then step back though and not rush, because you mentioned earlier how in 5 months the landscape's going to change. And I myself, as an IT leader, I've purchased a system 1 year before I should have purchased that system because I was so excited about what it could do, but it wasn't quite there. And then something else came out a year later. And so that's where the conversation of ROI and efficiency is really huge. If you can actually have a clear cut ROI, and let's say that ROI is within 1 year, you see that return on your investment and you see the results of it. Yeah, it's probably worth doing. If you're looking at a 5-year ROI right now on an investment in AI, it's not time. A 5-year contract in AI, don't even signing a 5-year contract in AI right now. It's not even worth it. I mean, either month to month, or again, if it's a 1-year plan, there is time and cost and commitment to an AI project. So you have to say 1 year. I've heard people say, well, don't do anything more than a month to month. Well, that's not really relevant either, because that's not giving it a chance. Sometimes it's a year to get that up and going and everything, but get that ROI, it just comes back to that, right?
I totally agree. And I would just back you up on that. Month to month is insane because you can't have a plan that works that way. Again, getting back to, where are you going? Know with certainty where are you going. And then maybe another way of saying this is, if you're a CEO and you're thinking about technologies and specifically AI, how does it fit into the Acme way, right? The way does this help? Does this improve the Acme way, our culture, our brand promise, or is it a distraction? And what do I want my company? Here's something we talk about, the growth reflex, right? So as a CEO, we have this reflex to grow. Sometimes we need to resist that reflex. Eisenhower stopped Patton at the Rhine. He said, you cannot cross the Rhine. Patton was screaming for fuel and for tanks and Eisenhower made him stop. And that was the same. We did the same in Desert Storm. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you need to stop at a phase line and say, okay, we're going to catch our breath and we're going to resupply. We're going to think about where we're going. We're going to evaluate. And at Growth Drive, we have an analyze, design, execute cycle. Analyze where you are, use that analysis to design a way to get where you want to go, execute that design, and then say, okay, take a breath. Where did we say we were going to get to? Where did we get to? And what do we need to do to get to the next phase line, the next, what I call horizon? Yeah. And as a CEO looking at AI, ask yourself these very simple human questions. Is this relevant? And just because it's noise doesn't mean it's not relevant, but you need to get, frankly, a CTO, a fractional CTO, go to a conference, get learning. That's the one reason our summit coming up in September is for business advisors. And we are focusing about a third of the content on technology and AI. And it's, business advising in the quantum age for this reason. Yeah. What's relevant? What's useful? How do we blow through the noise?
Yeah, I think
long-winded answer to a simple question, man.
No, that I love it. And another thing to think about, and going back to the human touch of things, people are starting to see the AI and stuff. and we like the
Yes.
human touch, we like empathy, we like that feeling. And so I think that businesses and CEOs, one of the things you can start considering now instead of a year from now or when you start implementing is, how am I going to reimagine or repurpose my employees to be more productive and fit into this age of AI? Meaning, not how do I eliminate all these employees and see them as a cost, but how do I bring more of a human approach? How can I have them do more human type of things that are relevant? How can I give my employees time back in their day to not drive and squeeze? I mean, right now it's a squeeze, like it's not all companies, but someone, I'm going to squeeze every little drop out of my employee. But how do I give them a better work environment? How do I get more productivity out of them, but more positive productivity out of them? And if we start thinking about that now as a business, I can see that making a huge difference when we start implementing AI and eliminating all the tedious stuff that they're doing right now.
Well, that's a fantastic point, because efficiency is the name of the game.
Yeah.
So how do we make our existing stakeholders, right, our employees, our suppliers, our distributors, but our stakeholders, how do we make them all more efficient?
Yeah.
And will technology, gating question, will technology do that? You and I think the answer is yes.
Yep.
And if it will, do I use technology to save money on payroll, or do I use technology to take the same payroll and have it deliver 2x, right? How do I move my revenue ring out of space?
Love it.
And I think that's the question. CEOs, in my experience, are deeply devoted to their people, right?
Yeah.
We read stories and we all know people who are users, but they use other people. But most CEOs care about their people to the extent that the respect is a two-way street.
Yeah.
And AI can be a way to improve the quality of people's lives. AI and technology. I want to make sure there are other technologies, right? Technology can help increase productivity. It can help add dignity to how someone is doing their job. You could use AI to, in a positive way, not monitor performance, but measure and reward performance. And that's where data analytics and productivity can come in and be like, listen, George knocked it out of the park. He was supposed to do 7 this week. He did 10. Everybody, hooray for George. That's a very positive step. Hey guys, we're bringing in technology and we're going to be cutting 30% of the workforce is frankly a great way to kill your business.
Right. And I love that thought. I also, another thing back, like I go way back, like 10 years ago in sales. And what I would hate is I'd hit my number, I'd hit my quota, I'd go beyond my quota, but it was always like more and more and more.
Yeah.
And quota is not just a sales aspect. Every single employee has a quota, whether it's, answering phone, they have a function they need to do, right? So hitting your quota. But what if my employee can accomplish everything they need to accomplish now in 30 hours? Give them the 10 hours back. I mean, it's so important right now to give that time back, especially with the new generation coming up who sees it like that, still have expectations for profitability and honest work ethic within your business, but give time back, give the psychology aspect back, the mental health aspect back to your employees.
I love that. And I'd like to make 2 comments, if I might.
Yeah.
One, I believe we give everyone 10% of their time. So a 40-hour work week, 4 hours, you do whatever you want with it. Learn something, read a book. I'm not going to tell you what book to read, but learn something, do something new, take an art class online, do something. But because that goes to satisfaction and also breeds innovation.
Yep.
And this is my bigger point. First of all, you said every employee should have a KPI, right? They need to go home at the end of the day knowing they're doing a good job, and and it's defined, it's quantified, and that you can do it. It's hard work, but you can do it for everyone. Now, business owners, where we make a mistake is we are buying something. When we hire someone, we bring them in, we're buying their time. And in that time, we expect them to deploy their expertise and their sweat. And if you've defined a KPI and you were buying attainment of that KPI, and if you're smart, you're rewarding exceeding or consistently exceeding that KPI. And if they can do their job and deliver or over deliver using whatever technology is out there, you should sit back, resist the urge to say anything other than huzzah, well done. Because if they can do their job in 20 hours, you're getting what you paid for. and you should be happy. And if they go to do other things that improve their job satisfaction, their personal satisfaction, raising their kids, whatever, because that is great. And you will have a great business with highly productive employees who are incredibly loyal. Those employees can be challenged. Okay, guys, we're going to take our moonshot. Right? We're going to take our moonshot. Imagine, by the way, well, the reason this is up here, imagine the collaboration. Imagine, by the way, how little technology is. It's
Right.
basically a big missile with 3 people strapped to the top. But imagine the collaboration that it took to get this photograph to happen. Imagine what you would get if you were able to challenge people with a moonshot, but they are invested in your business. They're invested in the Acme way. I mean, I teach entire courses on this, and you can see me getting amped up, but technology can help you create that beast of an engine that is going to grow like this, not like this, like this, but on and on and on. And there are businesses out there that do it. And this is probably a very powerful tool to help us get there, more companies to get there.
I love it. You see the smile on my face because this is exactly what I'm passionate about too. And also these conversations are what I love about talking about AI is we're so new into it. And, I have talked how there's a psychology aspect, a philosophy aspect, a business, a technology, a market. There's just so many aspects when we talk about this. But when we really get into bettering humanity and bettering the business and bettering and changing this old school approach of how businesses, some still are running. I'm not saying all of them, but some businesses are still running. It's exciting. Now, obviously I could talk to you about this for another 2 hours. We probably both don't have time for that. But so what I'm going to do is I want you to have last thoughts, but also talk about how people, I know I just purchased your book on Amazon. So I went to Amazon, I had to buy some other technology and I was like, oh yeah, I need to get this book. So I went in, just added in there. So I know Amazon's route. How do they get a hold of you? Maybe talk about your conference, if that's open to people coming, if they're in South Carolina or what that is, but just this last part's you. So just talk about what you want to talk about here.
Well, thank you very much. First of all, thanks for buying the book. It is available on Amazon in a number of different places. It's called The Growth Driving Advisor. And if you buy it and you like what you see, please. By the way, you'll see there's a QR code, so you get some of the technology that the book inspired. Please leave a review. And we're a community of business advisors, and we tend to attract senior level professionals. And by that I mean people who have 20, 30, 40 years of experience. They have an alphabet behind their name. The average person in our community has 3.7 credentials, right? Those are quality people. And our conference, our summit here in the fall, it's a national summit, so people are flying in from all over. It is not a big event. It is a very tight, very focused event, and in which we have senior pros collaborating. So I'm a big believer in rolling up your sleeves and getting immersed in the topic. And it's a very immersive experience. It's fun. It's incredibly valuable. And what we promise is that you are going to leave with expertise that you can apply, tools and expertise you can apply to your life, your work, and your clients immediately. And that is 100% promise. And we meet it. I mean, people come back year after year after year. So thanks for letting me get on my soapbox.
Yeah, I love it. It's valuable. What you're doing is valuable. I love it. So
if you want to get hold of me, I'm at Growth. Just Google growth-drive, and we are search engine optimized. We're out there. Easy to.
Yeah, and if you can't, just reach out to me as well. For anyone in my audience that knows me personally, of course, if you want to get a hold of George, just reach out to me. I'll give you his information, get you in touch for sure. But George, thank you so much. Every time I talk to you, it's just so enlightening because we've had similar, but we always expand. It's like our first conversation was good. Then we expanded on our second, and now we're expanding even more. So I love every time we talk because it just, my mind and the think tank just starts just spinning. So thank you very much.
I love it. The feeling's mutual, man. Thank you very much. These are fun conversations and rewarding. So
awesome. Well, thanks again and have a good day.
You too.